If you're watching this video right now, it's probably because you're thinking about starting a business in 2023. And whilst I applaud you for having the effort to go out there and start researching, there are a few problems with starting a business that people don't really talk about on the internet. Because whilst many people are out here talking about the benefits of starting a business and how in a couple of years you could be sat on a beach, there are also a lot of things which people don't like to discuss, as many people online are selling courses and don't like to highlight the bad things that can come about with starting a business. Whilst I'm not trying to hate, and I think it could be a good idea for everybody, I want to talk about some of the problems that you will face if you're trying to start a business in 2023. First things first, when you're starting a business, it takes a lot of effort to get off the ground. Many people know this, but they don't truly understand what this means. It means working long hours, probably longer than a 9 to 5. It means having extra stress and setting up stuff that you've never tried to set up before. That's not a problem if you understand that this is going to be beneficial in the long run. The problem is there's no clear sight of that in the beginning. Think about all of the things that you have to do in the first 12 months of running a business. You have to decide what type of business you want to run. You have to create a business plan. Do you have to register it with your government? Do you have to pay tax? All that kind of stuff. And that's before you've even considered making a large amount of profit. This is all the stuff that you have to do to get off the ground. But that's not even the initial problem with starting a business. The reason why many people fall in love with the concept of starting a business is because they've probably seen someone on YouTube or a site alike talking about the benefits of running a business. Oftentimes you've seen somebody much younger than you and probably much more successful than you talking about how they managed to make a couple of million in a couple of years, and you now want a piece of that action. That's fine, but do you truly understand what comes along with that? Because running a business is something which requires skills and a certain mindset. So you have to have both of those things combined. You have to have a skill set and a good mindset, and that's where people struggle. Because you probably go into Google, look up a business to start, type in business ideas 2023 and see what comes up. And then you start researching based off that. That's fine, but then after 6 months or less, you're probably fed up of that and don't want to do that business anymore. Everybody always talks about the fact that most businesses fail, but nobody really discusses why that is. I think a lot of it is due to a lack of drive and understanding of what's required. Right now, if you were to start a business that you don't have any understanding in that field, you're going to struggle because the first couple of months at least are going to have to be around research for you to understand what is required to be successful in that field. If you don't have an understanding of what you need to do, how are you going to get clients? How are you going to sell stuff or anything like that? You need to understand this business as a concept for it to even initially work. And that is something which a lot of people initially struggle to wrap their heads around. And where things get even more frustrating is the fact that even once you've got your head around that concept, it may not work. Let me tell you from my experience. If you're watching this channel right now, you've probably seen the last couple of videos and you think that I'm doing really well as I'm selling loads of different things online and my e-commerce brand, if you will, is starting to take off to a degree. The thing is though, this is not my first business. Actually, I've invested loads of money into previous e-commerce stores which have failed. And bear in mind, that's only one of several business plans which I have attempted in the past. It's not an easy ride and there's no guaranteed route to success. And that's where the mindset comes in, and it's really important. Even if you do have the correct skill set, who's to say you're going to be able to market it correctly, or who's to say that there's even going to be a demand for it? Because in the time that you could be working on it, a competitor could come in and essentially wipe out your business. Now that sounds horrible, but it's not a problem. You just have to have the right mindset to then move on to the next thing if that is required. But the thing is, this is not easy. And after 1 or 2 failures, it can be very easy to be dissuaded from carrying on at all, especially if you have a job in the background and you don't necessarily require this business to live. So unless you think that you can carry out the true mindset and requirements that an entrepreneur would have to do, a business may not be for you. It may be much more worth it to do a couple more hours at work or pick up a part-time job, but you have to realize that when you come into business as a business manager for yourself, you have to have a skill set, a product or a service that you can offer people, and you have to have a mindset which will be undefeatable. Because even if your business is successful, it won't be a straight path to success like this. It never is. There's going to be hiccups and bumps in the road, and they are going to be testing, trying, and extremely difficult. So you have to be prepared for all of what is to come. And that's something that people just struggle with. They don't have the staying power. Even if their business is doing well to begin with, they struggle to keep at it. Let me give you another example. A couple of weeks ago, I was teaching a friend of mine to set up an e-commerce store. In the first couple of weeks, he made about 4 sales, and he only listed about 10 items on these stores. So obviously that is quite good. And he said to me, "This isn't working. I've only made 4 sales in the past 4 weeks or something." And I kept saying to him, "You don't understand how this works. you're not going to become rich overnight. Everything that you've seen on the internet of people who made it big overnight or in a couple of weeks, it's either a scam, someone trying to sell you a course, or they got extremely lucky. And I'm not saying that to diminish it, but it just simply means that you're not probably going to have that success. So for those of you who are still looking to start a business in 2023, for those of you who actually understand what this means, how would you go about it and how would I go about it? And how have I gone about growing my e-commerce store to this point right now? The thing is, you have to understand what is required in this field. If you want to make a business, you first have to go ahead and learn the skill set, like I said. This might take weeks and it might take months. It might not even be completed by the end of 2023. And once more, who's to say it's going to work? But it is true that nobody ever stumbles upon the right thing like that. You don't get it just by trying once. Everyone knows this. It's very infrequent that you just land it in one. If you've ever tried to do a trick on a skateboard or something like that, you will know it takes tens of attempts, dozens of attempts for people to actually succeed. And this is the thing, most people actually understand this. Especially if you're in my age range, that's to say 25 and under, you understand this. Many people grew up playing games like GTA and others, and in these games, you have to complete missions. You fail these missions and then you start again. You have the right mindset. You've experienced this from a young age, how to go at it again and again, but you need to not give up. The truth is, as much as people like to deny it, there is a blueprint to success, and what that involves is lots of trial and error, lots of wins, but also lots of failures. Because when you look at these people on the internet, they have a brilliant life. They have millions of dollars coming in, maybe monthly or at least annually, but they don't show the failures that they've had to go through to get to that point. And the reason why many of these people have been able to do so at such a young age is because they are extremely hardworking. By the time they are 25, they've tried out dozens of different business ideas, and they've never stopped and never given up. That's the point that you need to get at. So what I'm trying to say here is, whilst businesses are an amazing concept and lots of people like to overly romanticize them, the thing is, it's not something that everybody is cut out for, because what you see on the internet is the end result. You see people on the beach, people with Lamborghinis, Ferraris, McLarens, but you don't see the guy that sat in his bedroom struggling to pass through hundreds of watches selling on the internet. And that's why I wanted to make this channel, because as you see, there's nothing really amazing about my background here, and especially behind the camera, you just see dozens of watches piled up. But that's the thing, this is what growing a business from zero and scaling up looks like. It does not equal success overnight. And once people understand that, they'll do a lot better in their business. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, guys. Hopefully you learned something from it, and I'm sure there's a lot that you guys can take from it. I'm sure all of you can have a successful business, but you need to ask yourself realistically, do you have the mindset to stick at it? Because if you're spending every waking hour on a project and it fails, and you try again and it fails, and you try again and it fails, are you going to try for the 4th time, the 5th time, the 10th time, the 20th time? That's the only difference between he who makes it and he who doesn't. He who makes it has tried, has failed, and that's what you need to understand. Even if it's not clear and public knowledge, they have failed in their own privacy. They've failed in the background. And this is what you need to get into your head. You can make this work, but you've got to fail dozens of times first. And that means that you're on a long and hard road. So if you're looking to make the easy money in 2023, starting a business is unfortunately probably not the way to go. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.